Don't want my microphone here, Mike.
Well, the show has started, everyone. Welcome. As Joey adjusts his microphone. Welcome to the 53rd episode of the TechnoBuffalo Show. I'm one of your two hosts for today, Sean Ani, editor-in-chief of the site. I'm joined by executive editor of gaming, Joey Davidson.
Hello, how are you, man? It's been a while. For the show, anyway. We talk daily, but
we talk all the time. It's just like, it's Joey again.
This Joey guy.
What's he gonna whine about now?
Everything.
Everything. I'm having to walk to a conference.
Oh, shut up, man. It was real far.
I did not envy you. So, Joey is on the show this week as E3 has wrapped up and he's made his way home and hopefully gotten at least one good night's of sleep in since he returned.
Nope.
Oh, conferences are always so much fun. But so he is back, and so this week we're going to be tackling what he saw at E3, our thoughts on various games and announcements. And so let's just jump into it on a grand macro scale. What were your feelings of this year's show?
Well, I enjoyed it. I think it was a rough year for Nintendo, but I think it was a really good year for Sony and Microsoft. And even the PC platform got a lot of love, which is really awesome. It was a strong year. It was really crowded there, man. This was a really, really crowded show. And I think that counts were something like 55,000 or some crazy number like that. But it was good.
Good.
Yeah.
Was there anything that really just made you sit back and go, whoa?
Well, not really. And I say that with kind of a little pause. I think the VR stuff was awesome. I think that there are some really awesome upcoming games, but unfortunately the best looking games were the ones that didn't offer hands-on playtime. A lot of that was hands off. And I'm speaking specifically about Fallout 4, that game Horizon Zero Dawn, worst title ever. That game looks amazing. But nothing that I actually physically got my hands on was that tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It's kind of weird this year, I guess. I don't know. That was an odd thing for me. Oh, Battlefront was good. I guess I played that, and Mirror's Edge was good too. It's all starting to flood back, Sean. It's all everything that I have kind of pushed aside as a trauma. You're bringing it back up. Here in just a minute.
Would you like to lay down on the couch and we'll walk you back through your
couch right there, man?
Yes, we'll just walk you back through the traumas that you experienced at E3.
Hypnotize me first, I know.
Yeah, well then you spend the rest of the episode clucking like a chicken.
Still better than Todd, so whatever.
Well, a question from Sachin Bahal, which I'm sure probably crossed your mind, and definitely crossed my mind. So Red Dead sequel will be at E3 2016?
Oh, for how many games the gaming community got this year that they wanted, and we'll talk about this more later. I am giving up hope for Red Dead and for Banjo-Kazooie. I feel like Rockstar is probably making a Red Dead somewhere, somehow. They have to be. I mean, that was a really big license for them. It made them what can only be described as a butt ton of money.
Yeah.
So it's coming. And I hope that they're going to do it for PC properly out of the gate. Like, even better than GTA 5, hopefully. But I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe so you're not going to compare it to Arkham Knight?
With its amazing PC launch? No, thanks.
Although you did tweet out that amazing photo the other day of being up in the clock tower.
Well, I'm playing on PlayStation 4. Like it's not that it's pretty good on PlayStation 4. Like it's the frame rate is steady at 30 frames per second with like very few dips, if at all. I mean, maybe in like high combat explosion segments. But you just get interior of a clock tower and there's like a full on downpour, and you're just like, there's no holes. Why is it raining? So, I don't know.
It's just condensation built up in the clock tower.
It's a lot of condensation, man.
Yes, exactly. My father used to work, when he was in the Navy, he actually worked at the base where the Hindenburg came in.
Okay.
And they had hangars so large that clouds would form up in the tops of the hangars.
That's
it would rain
incredible. And it would
inside the
rain.
hangar.
That's
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah, that's really cool.
So it actually does happen. However, I think the clock tower is just a glitch, but you never know. So you went through. How was it, especially with the extra press conferences?
Annoying.
Yeah.
I feel like, well, I think the good thing is that for gamers, for fans, a lot of times with companies like Square Enix and Bethesda, you're relying on writers like me to get secondhand information about the games themselves. But you didn't have that here. That's my phone. I'm sorry. You didn't have that here, so you got firsthand information, and a lot of times Bethesda and Square Enix especially, they're big on the eyes off or the eyes on, like hands off demos. So you saw exactly what I probably would have seen this year anyway. I can remember the year that Skyrim came out; it was an eyes off presentation that year. So for you guys, it's awesome. For us, the writers, I could have done without the press conferences entirely. I would if they were just like live streamed a la Nintendo Direct, I probably would have been pretty excited about that because that means I didn't have to make appointments and I didn't have to go anywhere, which would have been great. But getting the invitation and turning them down is that's not a good thing. So
we do have a quick question we need to address from a Todd Hasselton. Where's Todd? Well, due to popular demand, we removed him from the show.
Permanently.
Joey can't do it. We're actually going to bring in Todd's dog Mabel to replace him. Okay.
TechnoBuffalo Twitter account just tweeted out a link to our show in Russian.
Yes, they are addressing that right now. We're not quite sure why it's in Russian.
Okay.
We're not 100% clear on how that happened, and it is being investigated at the moment.
Interns! God, that's amazing.
Very important question. And I don't know if you actually got any hands-on time with this from Michael Vassell. Xbox Elite controller, worth it or not?
Well, okay. For me, no. For you folks who really, really enjoy that like hardcore, crazy, customizable controller, yeah, I could see it being worth your time. The price tag alone is way too steep for my blood. So I think it's like $150, but I mean, it's fully customizable. That's kind of crazy. So I'm down with the idea, but the price, man, that's going to keep me away. But if you have that type of money and you want a really well-built controller that's really customizable, I can't see any reason to say don't get it. You know what I mean? It's actually a pretty awesome piece of hardware.
Yeah, it looked great, and but honestly, what drove me away even quicker than the price, it drove me away before I knew the price, was the little silver paddles. I'm like, okay, wait, I'm not an octopus.
Have you ever used those before?
I have not.
Okay, so they're actually really nice. I mean, like, you keep your when I put my hands on a controller, I'm kind of like holding my hands up here. They sit like this, and these fingers are back here. And
Right.
so rather than worrying about moving my thumb to hit the reload button or throw a grenade or switch weapons, you just put it all down here. So if you're keeping your fingers on the sticks, you can just kind of use these fingers to reload and whatever functions you might be using.
Okay, I could see that. I didn't realize it would allow you to take power away from like the X, Y, A, Bs.
Right. So with Halo, this is the first time I ever did this. I can't remember which Halo it was. My roommate and I were like, oh, they just released a controller configuration called Bumper Jumper. And it's where they move the bumper or the jumping function from the A button up to the right bumper. So your shooting and your jumping were all on the same thing. And it was really easy to like run and jump and shoot without having to change your aim. And people who learned how to use this got crazy good.
Right, gotcha.
So imagine that, but just like a controller specifically built for that.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So we've got a lot of questions coming in here. We've got one from Brazen Franco, who was very excited to see that you were on the show. Reggie let slip, and I like how we just now refer to him as Reggie, meaning Reggie Fils-Aimé from Nintendo. Reggie let slip out that Nintendo is developing a new home console during a press question at E3. Can I consider that the NX is the next Nintendo home console, and should I avoid the Wii U now? What are the odds the NX will be retro compatible?
Okay, that's a pretty crazy question. So let's try to unpack it because I think it's a good one. But maybe we should start with what Reggie said, because I think I read the same interview that you did. He referenced a home console. He didn't say that the NX was that home console. And I don't think we're going to see that console in 2016. I imagine it's going to be 2017. Nintendo typically unveils 1 year, has a full year of like press previews and whatever else, and then releases after the E3 of the following year. So if you look at the Wii U, I can't remember the dates. Let's pretend it was unveiled in 2010 and it came out in 2011. That's typically how it works. So next year at E3, we're going to see the NX, whatever it happens to be, and then we'll see it in 2017, is my bet. Console makers don't really do the 3-month turnaround after a major reveal. That's a little crazy. So let's say that to start. As for what the NX is, I've heard a lot of different things. I've heard that it is a single platform. I've heard that it is a console/handheld device, something capable of playing TV quality games on the go, but then also being able to bring it home and sort of set it on your like media center or whatever, and just plugging it into your TV and going that way. I've heard that it's something like that, which kind of makes sense given the gamepad. I mean, it's basically the Wii U gamepad, just removing the need to stay within range of your console, which would be pretty awesome, especially if Nintendo can power it up quite a bit more. Because I think that's one of the things that's sort of held the Wii U back from the public mind share, is that it was just, everyone looked at it and said, oh, it's slightly better than an Xbox 360. So there's that. Backwards compatibility, I think that's the trickiest question. Nintendo's done backwards compatible systems all the way back to the Game Boy Advance. Pretty much every single one that they've released since then, except for the GameCube to 64, every single one that they've released since then has had backwards compatibility. And this is a company that's it's sort of won a lot of consumer trust, because when you do upgrade to their library, one of their big selling points is, buy the Nintendo 3DS, it also plays all of your DS games and DSi games and DSiWare or whatever it was. I can't see them getting rid of that feature. So with that all said, coming back to your question about should you wait, that's up to you. Right now, the Smash Brothers community is probably at its pitch with the Wii U, and I would say the same for Splatoon. And if these are two games that you really, really want to play when they're at their height of play, especially Splatoon, you need to get the machine sooner rather than later. If you're the type of person who maybe wants to ingest these down the line and doesn't really give a crap about the online component, which I would say is a bad idea for Splatoon because it's massively online, you can wait. I don't think that there's a mistake happening here. And even as someone who really likes the Wii U's catalog, if it is backwards compatible, I could see waiting and I could see being okay with that. But the thing about Nintendo games, and especially stuff like Pikmin 3, they go out of print. And Nintendo has been really stingy about adding things digitally when it comes to backwards compatibility. They do it on a week-by-week basis. So, I mean, you have a choice to make. Look at the lineup now for the Wii U and say to yourself, do I want these games that are out now, like a Pikmin 3 or Wonderful 101? If you can wait. If you can't, get it. It is the cheapest system, so that it has that going for it as well. And I imagine by this holiday, we might even have another price cut on our hands. So it's a big question. I'm sorry.
Well, I wanted to circle back for a second to something you said earlier when we talked about the Red Dead Redemption sequel. You said that we got a lot of long-awaited games this year. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the biggest of that being The Last Guardian finally being shown on screen.
One of them. I don't know if I'd call that the biggest.
Well, okay, it maybe not the biggest, but it was definitely one of the highlights of the entire week. I felt, sure, that finally we saw, something about it. Now, the streams were extremely choppy during gameplay segments. They were great for on stage, but gameplay segments were choppy. Judging only by watching it on the stream, you were there in person, but judging it by the stream, it looked like a PS2 game to me.
Well, have you played Shadow of the Colossus or Eco?
I played Shadow of the Colossus back in the day, yes.
Shadow of the Colossus had a gorgeous art design and art aesthetic. Even its HD version on the PlayStation 3 isn't like that gorgeous or whatever. I mean, it's a beautiful game, but it's not like the most graphically stunning thing ever. And on the PlayStation 2, I can remember horrible frame rates and tons of screen lag and everything else. So I think that Team Ico has a penchant for being really ambitious with their games. And so that huge scale tends to make it so that graphically, and I'm not making fun of you, Sean, or anything like that. I just hate when that's the direction of the discussion, because to me the graphics are huge and they're important, but like it's not the fulcrum for the entire enjoyment of the game.
I honestly, 99% of the time I would agree with you completely, but when a game has been in development for this many years,
I'd argue that's making it worse, because this is a PlayStation 3 game. This is a PlayStation 3 game that the team has decided we needed to get this on the PlayStation 4. So yes, it's going to have some graphical challenges, and were it developed for the PlayStation 4 outright, we might have something closer to, again, Horizon Zero Dawn than Shadow of the Colossus, but we have something in between. That said, in person on screen, it looked a little washed out, but that's kind of the color palette for Team Ico games. So other than the color palette, it looked good. I mean, feathers on Dogbird Bear thing looked pretty awesome.
Is that the name we're going with for the thing?
Dogbird Bear thing? Yeah, sure. Griffin dog?
Makes me think about Man Bear Pig.
Yeah, Griffin dog.
From South Park. Speaking of South Park, they may have won the entire E3 with the name of their sequel game.
Yeah.
But which I suppose we can say on the show, because it is a title.
Sure. What was it?
The Fractured Butthole.
Fractured Butthole. Yeah. Fractured Butthole.
But just to be clear, everyone, it was comma, but hole.
Reminds me of that Always
complete.
Sunny. Do you watch Always Sunny?
Yeah, I do.
So when Danny DeVito is singing "Gotta Save the Boy's Soul" from the troll, gotta pay the troll toll in order to save the boy's soul.
Yes.
God, that's what it reminds me of.
Great question from Outercraft, the game that was on a lot of people's lips. Have either of you played No Man's Sky? I have not.
I saw it played in person. I did not get a chance to play it. They were pretty selective about invites for that one, and it was in several places that I was near it. That makes you feel good. I did not have time to play it. It looks gorgeous. I'm really excited about that game. I do want to preface what I'm about to say with that, and I'm going to play it. I'm going to buy it. I'm a little bit nervous for its focus and how it feels in real time and what I wind up doing in it. I think with No Man's Sky, the first 5, 10, 20 hours, I'm probably going to really love it. And I'm questioning how I'm going to feel 20, 30, 40 hours. Is this a game that I'm going to play forever, kind of like Minecraft? Or is this a game that I'm going to explore for 20 hours and think, okay, I got my money's worth? That's kind of where I am with that game. I'm excited for it, though. And I think that Hello Games is doing some big things, which is admirable in and of itself. So,
yeah, I'm nervous too. I'm worried that it lacks a focus.
I'm not worried about the focus thing. It has enough. I think it has enough of that to drive me, but I'm worried about how far I'm willing to be driven. That's where I am.
I don't know. And like you, there's still no question I'm going to get. And how excited were you to see more Cuphead?
Really excited. I was really excited they got stage time too.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to that game.
Mm-hmm. When I interviewed them last year. So it's like they went from having 13 seconds of time in Microsoft's like sizzle reel to having actual stage time in 1 year. And I went to a game showcase on Monday night, and we were all playing games, and the line for Cuphead was ridiculous. So I mean, it's gonna be popular, at least just based on its look alone. So
yeah, no, it looks so good.
So
good. From Brazen Franco, starting to get worried about the FF7 remake. Rumors circulating are saying that it could end up being a simplified third-person action game like FF15, and not the difficult turn-based awesome game it originally was. What are your opinions?
I think that you should read a story written by Ron Duell on our site about getting your expectations in check for something like this. Ron hit the nail on the head. I think that it's going to be a remake, and I'm excited for that. But at the same time, the Final Fantasy VII port is coming out as well. So you're going to have both. If you want a Final Fantasy VII with just the same exact game with HD graphics, I don't think that's going to exist. But I don't know what they're going to do. And I hope to God it's not a third person action game. That just doesn't make any sense, and that's not what we all played. But it is going to be different, and I think that I'll go on the record now as saying that no matter what, someone is going to be pissed off about something with that game. That's just the way that nostalgia works. Yeah, I mean, it's just the way it works. I'm just hopeful that as long as they keep the core mechanics in place, like that turn-based difficulty combat or whatever. Turn-based combat was good. I mean, line combat was kind of the hallmark of Final Fantasy back in that era. Then I want more of that. So hopefully it stays.
So Ron brought up a great point in a recent article about, do we now have to take the certain large event at the end of disc 1 and consider it a spoiler again?
I hope so.
We all now have to avoid mentioning that large Final Fantasy VII moment. Well,
I mean, there's a whole new generation of players here. I'm sure that I wouldn't even be surprised, and this is not insulting, I wouldn't even be surprised if more than 50% of the people watching now have never even played Final Fantasy VII. It came out a long time ago.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I find it, but do we hold it in the same? I mean, people mention Darth Vader as Luke Skywalker's father on a daily basis. No,
it's not in that. It's not in that tier. Everyone's seen Star Wars. Not everyone's played Final Fantasy.
Has Connor seen Star Wars yet?
Man, I'm waiting.
Okay.
I'm waiting until he gets to the age where, like, I want that. Sorry, I'm moving my camera now. I want that moment, that Luke, I'm your father moment, to absolutely ruin him. I want him to be like fully, because I can remember my dad waited until I was like 6 or 7 to watch that movie, and it just, man, I didn't trust anything.
I saw it in the theater opening night, and I can remember just sitting there in the theater going, "Oh,
yeah, right." I'm like, no,
yeah. From Michael Vasale. Joey, was there any games that disappointed you at E3?
Oh, gosh. There was one or two. This is a question of, like, if right people are watching, I'm probably going to get in trouble. Star Fox Zero disappointed the crap out of me, man. I love Star Fox. It looked like the most dated Wii U game. The worlds themselves were really empty. It felt archaic almost, and the motion control. So there's two. Man, it was really weird. So, like, you're kind of think like Splatoon almost, except not really. With Splatoon, the walking is on the left stick and the aiming is on the right stick, but it's also on the gamepad itself, which you can turn this off. But I actually left it on because the motion control here is really good. So, like, you'll do like your macro aiming on the right stick and then your micro, like your fine tuning on this, and you can get really fast and super accurate, and it works. But it works because the reticule stays up on the TV screen. You're not looking down at the gamepad when you're moving. Star Fox has you turn the whole ship this way. So, like, you're moving up on the top of the screen. That's where your acceleration is and everything else. But then, like, when it comes time to aim, you have to look down at the gamepad and, like, turn and get really precise. And then by the time you look up, you're running into other ships because the gamepad's a cockpit view and it doesn't show you the sides. I don't know, man. It was like really, even the demo, they have like, I don't know what to call them, demo assistants, I guess. It's not the person driving the demo, but they're standing there with you and they're kind of like there to make sure you have settings.
Answer questions. Yeah.
Right. So, like, even she was just like, yeah, people have had a hard time with this all day. And this was by day 3 of the show or day 2 of the show that I played it. So, like, and I was the last appointment. So she had like 10 people or 20 appointments before that were just like, yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing. So, I mean, that was disappointing. I'm not going to write it off. It's E3, man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of, is there anything else that was really disappointing? I was really disappointed with the Rare collection. I don't want that. Like, I want Rare games. I want them to get back to making great new games. And I mean, there's going to be that one Thieves of the Seven Seas or whatever pirate game that is. That's not how. I just want Banjo-Kazooie again, man. Like, why can't I just have that? Why can't we bring back the Rare that defined so many of our childhoods, not the Rare that made a bunch of Kinect games and then Microsoft's like, let's try something else.
Kinect, what's that? From Sachin Bahal, and I kind of want to build off of this. Are any of you guys going to get an Oculus Rift, Project Morpheus, or Valve's VR headset when it comes out? What was the it seemed to be downplayed to me in all the presentations that I had access to.
Well, VR is a nearly impossible thing to make exciting at a press conference.
Mm-hmm.
It just is not. It's not exciting,
right?
But in person, it is exciting, and I think that given the fact that I went to several demos, like the directions in the email that were just like, "Hey, we're at this booth. It's behind the VR section of the show floor." The fact that VR had like a freaking just enormous like football field sized section of the show floor is very telling. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I don't know what I'm going to get. I probably, sounds crazy, probably Project Morpheus, and the reason why I say that is because it's probably going to be the most affordable option. Oculus Rift, they're probably going to be the same price, but I think the Oculus CEO was like, you're going to need a $1,200 like $1,200 or $1,500 just to get going if you have a from scratch computer, and my computer is terrible right now, so I'm going to be looking at that price tag in order to get to get in on that. But the PlayStation 4 is $400 plus probably a $300 Morpheus. I'm going to put it around that. It's $500 difference.
Now, not mentioned here, and I realized I actually have not talked to you about this since the show. The HoloLens demo.
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts?
It was good. I did not try it at the show, but I have heard that we should lower our expectations, and that demo was not that it was deceptive, but it was a little far-reaching. It's not quite as good as all that, really. Yeah. The demo was freaking mind-blowing, though, as it was happening. Like, it was great. It was crazy.
Yeah, but you were there, as was Eric. Ron and I were on a Skype call, and I told Ron, I was like, look, there's no way is as good as what they're showing right now.
What they were showing was live, which is crazy. But what I've heard is that, okay, so like the glasses view that we had, take it like this. So what we saw on screen and what you and I saw, like, because the only HoloLens stuff that any of us saw was the stuff that was on a screen. And they put the HoloLens lens directly on top of the camera, so like this.
Right.
There was no peripheral view. And what I've heard about HoloLens is that if you turn your eye anywhere, like, and break the vision on either side of the lens when you happen to be looking through these, like when you look through glasses, you can see to the sides of your glasses.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
So I
have blur.
Right. So imagine looking through glasses and then you turn your head and the vision breaks. The illusion breaks every single time that you like look above and below and to the side of your glasses. So I've heard that is kind of jarring and it sort of ruins the effect. I don't know. That's I don't know. I don't know how legitimate that is. I'm excited for HoloLens though. It's interesting as crap.
Yeah. Well, and Ron and I were discussing on the call, what are the other types of games that this could go to? And basically we feel, I mean, you're never going to play
strategy games.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be things like Civilization. StarCraft would be a stretch, but possibility.
Banner Saga. Could you imagine, instead of controlling them with like a tactical strategy game like Fire Emblem, instead of controlling with the analog stick, like reach in and grabbing your pieces and moving them like it's a big giant chessboard? God, that would be awesome.
Exactly. A SimCity.
That'd be cool too.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. For me, VR doesn't excite me that much.
No, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it's something I'm definitely going to sit back and wait to hear more experiences and finally get to experience for myself.
Mm-hmm.
But Eh. From Brazen Franco, and this was a question that was on a lot of people's minds. Hey, Joey, how do you feel about the quasi lack of presence of the Vita during Sony's press conference? Personally, I'm sad.
Yeah, am sad too, man. I don't know. It's probably one of the platforms I play most, and that's mostly because I've been enjoying a lot of cross-play stuff. You know, on the one hand, I use the crap out of my PS Vita, so Sony must be doing something right. But on the other hand, I am also a little bit frustrated with their release schedules. And they release their sizzle reel, and you hit the comments, and there's people who are like, "Yeah, PS Vita," and my comment is like, "Man, I want more. You're not giving me enough. I want more stuff like." I love the crap out of Tearaway and Persona 4 Golden, and even Uncharted had its high points. And Gravity Rush, all those were amazing games. I'm kind of angry that we didn't get to see Gravity Rush 2. You know, I've heard that that's in development. I've been hearing that for a long time, and it wasn't there. And Sony's head, Shuhei Yoshida, was just like, we're treating the PS Vita as, these aren't exactly his words, but it's a quick play device. It's something that's meant to play games that are good in 15, 20-minute stints. And that's cool and all, and those have their place, but I want both, man. I want the big experiences too. And those just don't seem like they're coming anymore, and that is a bummer.
Yeah, I was surprised by how little, and considering Ron does most of his gaming on his Vita, you can imagine what I was hearing on the other end of the Skype call as the session came to an end.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seemed odd. It seemed very odd. From Michael Vassell, speaking of backwards compatibility, Xbox One is getting it for 360 games, but not all 360 games will be playable due to changed licenses over time. What's up with that?
Okay. Phil Spencer talked about this on a podcast video show that someone was watching in the press room, so we kind of like got a chance to all watch and learn together. Very basically, the Xbox 360 on the Xbox One is more or less emulation. So what Microsoft has managed to do is they've created an Xbox 360 shell that you will download onto your Xbox One, and then the games will insert into that shell. So the Xbox One sees it as playing Xbox 360, the game, and then your Xbox 360 game is playing the game that's inserted in. Got it? So there's no work to be done. Okay, like there's going to be some stabilization with the emulator itself, but there's no work to be done in porting games over to the Xbox One. So it is entirely up to licensing. My child might be running down the stairs here in a second. So if that happens, I'm sorry. So it is entirely up to licenses, entirely up to companies to give permission for the Xbox 360 games that they created so many years ago to be sold on the Xbox One now. When is it going to happen? I don't know. But that is what's up with that.
Yeah,
there's no work to be done, and I can't see very many companies going, don't sell our games again. We're good.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Konami would do it.
Quick question from Dan Legas. Will you guys be doing more Twitch soon? Yes, we will. We just don't have an exact date at the moment. Also from Dan, hey, Joey, what are your thoughts on Mirror's Edge? I assume he means the new Mirror's Edge.
Yes, I got to play it, and I loved it. I think I got about 15 minutes which was a bummer. It was an open world area. One thing that I will tell you is really cool that I haven't heard very much about from my demo. Maybe other sites are writing about it, I don't know. From my demo, basically, it was you get dropped into an open world area inside Mirror's Edge Catalyst, and the world itself is white around you and yellow. If you've ever played Mirror's Edge, you know that the places you can parkour off of are, hey, buddy. My son's homesick today. That's him right there. I'm working, dude.
We'll wrap up here in just a moment.
He's leaving. He's going to a doctor's appointment. So anyway, it's typically the world's all white, and then the stuff that you can parkour off of is red. That's how you know you can jump from point A to point B. Poor kid. So like in Mirror's Edge Catalyst, it's all white. So there's no like runner's vision until you select something on the map and say like, I want to go here. I want to do this goal. And then instead of in Arkham Asylum, for instance, or Arkham Knight, for instance, when you're in the car, you get like a dotted path on the road that says like, you should go this way. Instead of that, the runner's vision shows up. And so there's no like arrows or anything like that. It's just like objects on the ground turn red. Like that dumpster in the distance turns red, and then past it, a wall turns red. And it just sort of tells you like, hey, this is the direction you should be heading. And it actually works really well. That's my dog. I got a whole family here.
Well, but even though it's open world, since you can't see the parkour track until you select a destination, don't you feel like that takes, and this is just me speaking from your explanation, don't you feel like that kind of makes it a little bit less open world?
No. Pretty much the way that the game has been designed, at least in my very, very, very small vertical slice, pretty much everything is parkourable. There are some walls that are very obviously too high. So you can run in any direction at any given time, and you will be able to parkour down surfaces that make sense. But when you have the waypoint selected, it's just that the most sensible parkour path is the one that's highlighted. Does that make sense? It's all parkourable. It's just that the way that you want to go or the path that you want to take is highlighted once you choose your waypoint.
I was not aware that parkourable was a word.
It is, man. God.
I'm out of the loop. I'm not into my parkour lingo.
God, I'm going to put her down after this call.
From Brazen Franco. So what's your opinion on yet another heavily pre-ordered AAA game going down the drain again, referencing to Batman for PC?
Stop pre-ordering games. Like, just don't do it. None of us do it.
I almost did, and you talked me out of it.
Yeah, don't do it. Now the PlayStation 4 version of the game's been really good for me, but I don't care. I'm willing to go to the store or download it on day one. I will wait for the 12-hour download and install. I will wait for that over the risk of getting a broken game and not being able to play it at all.
Yeah.
So, and then, worst case, you get a broken game and then you sit in your chair and you like drink a bottle of brandy and listen to all the people complain about how broken it is. Like, that's your reward for not pre-ordering. So I'll take that over playing a glitchy game any day of the week.
Yeah, I can see your point. Of course, as soon as you told me yesterday, it's good, you should get it, I was like, I was going to get it, but then you told me to cancel my pre-order.
Why don't you get it now? What's stopping you from getting it now?
Because now I'm at the point where, like, well, do I just wait for the Game of the Year edition and get all the bonus stuff?
Yes. You should. Warner Brothers is like the worst now. Like,
I know.
I know that we talk about Ubisoft and EA as like pure evil, but like just step back for a second and look at Warner Brothers and the ridiculous amount of pre-order content that they stuffed into Arkham Knight, and all of it retail specific and all of it platform specific. We're really pissed off right now at Bungie and their collector's edition for freaking dancing emotes in Destiny's Taken King DLC. We are pissed off about that because they're attached to Activision and Bungie is a big brother company. Warner Brothers, not so much. I mean, now they are, but like, come on, how much exclusive content do we need to stare at before we get that same level of frustration? Like, yeah. It's ridiculous. I was going to play Batman Arkham Knight no matter what. You just giving me more pre-order options is only angering me and making me want to recommend it. Warner Brothers, if you are watching this, you literally just watched me tell someone named Sean to wait and buy it later because of all of your stupid recommendations and like pre-sale stuff. You're losing sales by doing this. Like, the public's going to catch on. You keep releasing broken games, and at the same time, you're releasing broken games with more pre-order and season passes than I can shake a stick at. Like, something's got to give here, man. It's time to move on.
Speaking of broken games, Ubisoft came out on stage. They made a somewhat reference to last year's Assassin's Creed issues.
Mm-hmm.
What was the general feeling at E3? Is everyone still angry about what happened with it, or? I
can't speak for everyone.
No, of course not.
I can speak for Eric and I, who were in the room discussing it at the time. Eric was excited for it, and I was like, count me out. I am, I guess, just like of the ilk that I'm so sick and tired of broken games. I am so sick and tired of them. Like, it's just getting ridiculous. And the reason why I'm angry specifically at companies like Ubisoft is because they're doing it to themselves. Like a few years back, this is like water cooler crap, but whatever. I was at the hotel that we stay at. We happen to stay at the same hotel that has like all the executives from all the various companies as well. It's just like everyone stays at these hotels because they're close to the convention center. They're like walking distance or they're shuttles. I'm downstairs getting a coffee from the lobby bar, and next to me are people who are very obviously middle-aged executives from Ubisoft. Like, they're wearing their badges. It says it on there. They're like, you can don't treat this as like gospel because it's like tertiary source here. But these people were like literally talking about how they need their yearly hit. They need their yearly thing. They need their Skylanders. They need their Call of Duty. And that's what we've gotten with Assassin's Creed, and that's why it's so frickin' broken. Call of Duty isn't broken because it's an on-rails linear experience. It's not literally on rails, but it's a corridor shooter. There's nothing they can screw up there. Assassin's Creed is a complex, vast array of systems. You know what I mean? So it's like, I really see them every year is just asking for it. And so here they come with another Assassin's Creed on a yearly basis. And if the announcement of your game includes an apology for the last game, it's time to slow down and maybe pump the brakes a little bit and back off and say, we should take a break. It's ridiculous.
That is an excellent point. If you have to come out and go, yeah, sorry about last year. Here's this year's, though.
Yeah. It's going to be great.
Ignore last year's. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think, I didn't walk away from this year. Yeah, of course, we're going to get the Assassin's Creed and the Call of Duty for this year, but it did feel to me a little bit like maybe we're pulling away from everything having to be annualized. Maybe.
No.
You don't think so?
It's making them too much money. Like, it's just making them too much money. I don't know. What else can I say? They're releasing broken games and they're selling like gangbusters. What's the point of releasing games that work? Like, what's the point? You don't have any ambition to it, and we're all lining up going, hey, we'll buy it again.
Well, one last question before we close out today, and this comes from Dennis Langston. Just tuned in, so I don't know if you guys touched on this, but what do you think about Sony starting a Kickstarter for a game? Good idea or bad?
I debated about writing about this for the site. I just haven't gotten to it yet. On the one hand, I think it was really a nice move of Sony to sort of give the Shenmue guys a chance to announce their game on a really big stage with a really big megaphone. That bit's awesome. But Shenmue 2 cost $70 million in the year 2000. And then they come up here for Shenmue 3 and they're like, we only need $2 million from you guys. They don't. They need a lot more money than that. This was basically just a pre-order hype tool, is essentially what it was. And they've secured... It sort of goes against the core heart of Kickstarter in my mind, which is a platform for little guys to get noticed. And here we have Shenmue 3, one of the most called for games in the entire medium, and one of the biggest console manufacturers in the world, Sony, using Kickstarter to fund a game. It's just a little crazy to me. It just doesn't. It's not what Kickstarter is for. I find it really weird. That $2 million is nothing in the grand scheme of this game. It's probably going to be like 2% of the budget. It just seems a little excessive. If they had announced that Kickstarter as on frickin' Twitter, it probably would have done just as well. But instead, they donated. They use so much of their stage time. Massively smart. I was going to say massively fart. Massively smart for Sony here, but because they basically trotted out a game that they haven't worked on, a Kickstarter that they didn't make. They spent no money on it. They basically brought it out on stage and they were like, "Here you go, Shenmue 3, and you heard about it here first. The PlayStation press conference, PlayStation for life." That was obviously a really good move for them, but it kind of feels really shady. So,
I tend to agree. I've vacillated on my opinion since the announcement, and as time has worn on, I'm definitely going into the negative camp. Now, that being said, I haven't played Shenmue or Shenmue 2, so...
Well, I'm excited for driving some forklifts and doing some shopping and working through some gashapon machines.
Yeah, I saw that was included. I was like, having not played the first 2 games, I didn't realize that was a thing in the game.
It is the reason why people like these games. Well, maybe I'm speaking, I don't know, out of turn here, but in my personal opinion, the reason why people like these games is because they tap into what Japanese life is very, very well. And that's kind of awesome. I actually really enjoy it myself. So
cool. Well, I think that is going to bring this episode to an end. I thank you for joining us, Joey, and hopefully we can have you on more often. I know. Oh, okay, well then, forget you. But as always, we want to thank you all for joining us. And you can find us on the iTunes store by searching for the TechnoBuffalo Show, where we do appreciate if you rate and review us. That does help out the show. You can also find us on Pocket Casts. You can subscribe via RSS feed. You can find us on the Stitcher app, which means you can listen to us anytime, anywhere. Basically, anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find the TechnoBuffalo Show. Until next time, I'm Sean Ani. I'm the editor-in-chief of the site. I've been joined by executive editor of gaming, Joey Davidson.
Thank you, guys.
Till next time, take it easy, everyone. Bye-bye.